Are you relocating to the Eglin area? Then stick around because we're going to go over the top 3 cities that people like to live in whenever they're being stationed in or around Eglin. We're going to talk to you about the amenities, the schools, and the beach accesses. So stick around if that sounds like information that might benefit you.
Now, before you turn away, if you are not military, don't worry. This video is going to be going over Fort Walton Beach, Niceville, and Crestview. So if you're trying to learn about the area, this is for you too. We just know a lot of our military members do live in those 3 cities when they're going to Eglin Air Force Base. So that's why we're kind of tailoring some of the information that direction. So what's going on? My name is Andrew, and this is
AJ.
And we are your Original Life on the Emerald Coast team, and we're here to teach you all about the Emerald Coast. So let's start with these big 3 cities and their schools.
Now, before you are like, oh, is this just your opinions? Are y'all's kids are in these schools or anything like that? We're actually pulling all of this data from a site. It's called publicschoolreview.com, and it's a really handy website. You can actually compare different schools within the state. If you're considering different counties, you can do that, or various schools within the same county, and you can tailor it down by grade levels and just kind of take it from there. So a really great tool. Again, publicschoolreviews.com. And again, we're going to be going over Crestview, Niceville, and Fort Walton Beach. And whenever I was delving into this information, we saw that Crestview and Fort Walton Beach were ranking very similarly at 50% in the state, while Niceville was in the top 20. So a bit of a leap there between the 3 of them.
Now, this was surprising to us because the student-to-teacher ratio was actually better in Fort Walton Beach, and that is generally, put that in air quotes, an indicator that the ranking is going to be a little bit better. But in this case, it was not. So the student-to-teacher ratio in both Crestview and Niceville are sitting at 25-1, whereas in Fort Walton, it is sitting at 19-1.
So regardless of, that student-to-teacher ratio, we are seeing Niceville exceeding both the ratings, or all 4 of the ratings rather, when it comes to math, language, arts, science, and graduation rates. Niceville beat out Crestview and Fort Walton Beach in all of the categories. But for graduation and science, Crestview ranked a little bit higher than Fort Walton Beach, and Fort Walton Beach ranked a little bit higher than Crestview in math and language arts.
It does not surprise me that Niceville ranks higher. It is one of our best ranked schools in the entire area, not just these 3 cities that we're talking about. When we're talking about Pensacola to Panama City Beach in general, Niceville tends to rank in the top of those schools pretty regularly. In fact, up until just a few years ago, it was probably the number 1 ranked school in our entire area, although Navarre is starting to race up to the top, and there are a couple of areas around Santa Rosa Beach that are doing extremely well as well. Overall, our schools here tend to trend a little bit on the higher end. I know when we say, hey, 2 of these cities are in the 50th percentile, but that is the top 50th percentile. They're floating around somewhere in there, and it's for the area in general and for the state, which Florida schools tend to trend a little bit higher than a lot of our other states. Now, it's not the number 1 by any means, but it does trend a little bit higher. And for those of you guys that have kids in the high school realm, Niceville High is hands down probably the best school in the area for extracurricular activities in general, but primarily in sports. Their football team, their basketball team, those 2 in particular, their band and their cheerleading, all 4 of those are outstanding sports. They put a lot of money in and a lot of effort into, and they're always fundraising, trying to get to the next level. So if you have kiddos that are either aspiring to be in that realm or they already are in that realm and they're trying to easily transition into a school, Niceville might be a solid option for you and your kids.
I'm glad that you brought up that was specific to the high school. These stats are also specific to the high schools. So we were looking at Crestview High and then Niceville High and then Fort Walton Beach High. So Crestview does have another option. It's Laurel Hill, but that's going to be farther to the north. And for the purposes of this video, I just went with the more centrally located one, since that's more than likely going to be where you're looking if you're being stationed in or around Eglin, whether as a military person, a veteran, or a regular old civilian.
Fort Walton Beach also has a second option as well, but very similar to Crestview. We just wanted to choose one that was more popular, more centrally located in general.
One of the top questions that I get asked anytime someone's looking to relocate to this area, whether with the military or not, if you have a family, typically the first question asked is, which one's the safest area? Where's my family going to be safe? So we went ahead and did a dive into areavibes.com, and you're able to see the rankings of different cities, and you can compare them to each other. So whenever we compared Niceville to Crestview and Fort Walton Beach, they were all pretty similar, actually. Not huge differences. We had a B+, which was Niceville, and then a B-, which was Fort Walton Beach, and then a C+, which was Crestview. So not huge, differences. They're all kind of right there. But again, Niceville we're seeing is leading the charge at the top.
It's really important to note too here that we are using very reputable websites for this. It's very easy if you know somebody that's living here for them to have a biased opinion. And that's why we don't want to give our opinions. That's why we're very careful about that on this channel. I mean, we give our opinions on a lot of things. When it comes to school and crime in particular, we want to make sure we're taking out any biases so that you guys can get the actual information from people that are collecting this data full time, that's what they're trying to do, on their websites and stuff. So that's why we suggest areavibes.com. There's plenty of them out there, so you can do your own research. There's 3 or 4 websites that are fairly reputable that track these kind of things. So whether you're looking at going to Fort Walton Beach, Niceville, or Crestview, or any of the other cities in our area, you can absolutely search that stuff up, or you can always reach out to us and we can give you that information as needed.
In case you want to ask us directly, you can go ahead and contact us via all of the contact information, which is on the screen right now. We absolutely love hearing from you guys. Seriously, we get emails. Specifically, y'all really like to email us, and we're cool with it. Just, let us know what's up. We're happy to communicate with you. And if you haven't done so already, maybe this is the first time to our channel. For 1, thanks for being here. For 2, please hit that subscribe button and ding the bell so that you get notified every time we do another video.
Now that we've talked about the schools and the safety, probably the next big thing on most people's radar is the amenities. What is there going to do, or what is there to do in the town that I'm going to choose? Because, well, if you're somebody that likes to go out and do a wider range of things, there are going to be better options than others. So let's get into the amenities, starting with Crestview.
Okay, I really like Crestview. A lot of people, when they think Crestview, they're like, man, it's so far north that it's kind of out of the way.
Crestview gets some hate for sure.
It definitely does. It definitely does. But it's actually got some really cool stuff. In Crestview, you have the zoo. And this is a great zoo. It's all, the last time I was there, which wasn't too long ago, but not too recent. It's been within the last year. It was still mostly all dirt paths throughout, but they had camel rides, and they have places where you can feed all of the different types of animals. They've got them all over the place, all kinds of different enclosures. They've got, lions and tigers and bears, oh my, and then your birds and just all kinds of stuff. It's super fun. My daughter loves it. Every time we go over there, they've got, the aviary, so you can go in with some, stick food stuff into the little budgie area, and they'll come fly to you if you're lucky.
Oh yeah, those are so cool.
Until they poop on you, and then
it's not as cool.
Not as cool, especially if you're just starting out and you still have to walk around the rest of the zoo for the entire time.
It's a crappy situation. Sorry, it was too easy. What's funny about the zoo is I lived here for probably close to a decade and didn't realize that there was a zoo up there. I obviously knew about the one in Gulf Breeze, Navarre area, but not up in Crestview. And then just a couple of weeks ago, somebody had commented on one of our videos that they had lived here for a decade or 2 or something like that, or 30 years, and they didn't even know there was a zoo here. But the zoo is absolutely amazing up here. It's not, the biggest, fanciest zoo in the whole world. It's not, 16,000 acres or anything crazy like that, but it's got all the essentials, and it is a great time for people with families.
It really is. Their enclosure for the giraffes is super fun. My daughter, she's about to be 6, and I'm not very tall, so she's definitely not very tall, and she's able to walk over with her lettuce leaf and go and feed the giraffes without any assistance. It is really cool. When I take her to the one over in Gulf Breeze, I have to pick her up. She's getting to the age where she can kind of reach out her arm enough that they can just barely reach it. But I'm just saying, if I had to choose between the 2 giraffe enclosures, I would choose the one at Crestview Zoo. That one's just better. But anyways, moving on to additional amenities, because you're probably not going to go to the zoo every day. There are there are also more things to do. So there's actually this winery that the name is escaping me, the Yellow River Wine Bar. And this place is super cool because they offer free wine tasting daily. You can go taste their wines like every single day. I'm not saying I know anybody that would do that type of thing, but
Me either.
Their wines are made from 100% fruit. They don't use any type of grape base, so it's a much different experience. And they also have gift baskets. So if you're looking for just a cool, not cookie cutter gift to give somebody, all of their stuff is locally made. So it's a really thoughtful gift, and it supports the local community. There's also the Twin Hills Park, which is super cute. You guys, it's this beautiful park with this huge reservoir and these like fountains in it. And there's a dog run, and there's a playground over there, and there are ducks. I mean, just
tons of ducks.
So many ducks, so much bird.
They're ducking everywhere.
I love taking my daughter over there, and she might terrorize them a little bit, and I have to say something to her. But they're really, really cool. They will try to steal your food. But it's a cool amenity, being able to go to that park. You can take your dog, you can take your kids, you can take both. You can have your lunch over there. It's super nice. So you also have that.
Yeah, if you do bring your lunch, just as AJ said, be prepared to share. They are going to come over. They're not going to jump on the table and grab it or anything like that, but they're definitely going to be eyeballing you.
And then the last amenity that I want to tell you about, which is super cool, especially if you're bringing family in, is Ride Hard Northwest Florida.
That's a mouthful.
Gosh. Yeah. But it's so cool. It's kind of akin to like an Urban Air or a Surge, with like the trampoline stuff. And you've got like a big old ball pit, but they have a mechanical bull and a bulldog that you or your kids can ride. And they have, like virtual reality set up. So it's just this really, really cool, super family friendly spot that, if it's raining or maybe you didn't leave the house in time to go to the beach and you're like, I don't want to deal with the traffic today. I'm just going to take the kids and let them go run off some steam. Maybe you need to run off some steam. You don't feel like going to the gym. You can go over here and just have a ball. You can make a whole day out of it because they've got a spot there with some food too. All your, standard foods that you would expect it.
Like a fancy Chuck E. Cheese.
Maybe.
I added the word fancy. I want to emphasize that. I added the word fancy.
You did. But so that's a really cool spot to go to as well.
Another good thing that's out in Crestview that it wasn't originally on our list, but I can't get through a video about Crestview amenities without talking about Blackwater River State Forest. Right, Blackwater River. Yep, said it right. Okay, so there's a ton to do out here, from camping to hiking to jeeping to four-wheeling, taking whatever you want out, whatever land vehicle you want. But my favorite thing to do out here, by a big margin, is just tubing down the river. You can kayak, you can stand-up paddleboard, but tubing. There's something about tubing on the river. Yes. You grab an extra tube for your cooler, for all of your delicious sodas. Sodas? Yeah, or like whatever you're drinking, because there are certain areas that you can't drink alcohol in along the ride, which I found out the hard way. I'm not going to go into that story right now, but point is, tubing is absolutely a blast, okay? So
they make songs about it.
Yeah, they make songs about it. And depending on where you decide to get into the water at, or whether you're on one of the guided tours, because they'll actually drive you up in a bus with all your tubes. They'll do everything for you. All you've got to do is slap your tube in the water, slap your butt in the tube, and just let the water take you and enjoy the beautiful views.
It's like the ultimate lazy river.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do anything.
Oh, I like
chill. They also have zip lines over there, which is super cool.
I forgot about the zip lines.
They're a little wild, though. They're like poles that you climb up with these little platforms, and they just hook you in with 10 other people, and all your feet are touching, and you're just like, oh my God, please don't anybody knock me off of this. But it's fun.
Sounds like a great time.
It's a great time. And you're super high up, and the pole you're on is doing this, and you're like, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
So what's really good about Crestview, to kind of wrap it and summarize it all up, is it's great for the person that likes the outdoors, all in all, when it comes to amenities. But there's also plenty of things to do to get away from the heat and the rain and, the occasional hurricanes.
Yeah.
Although I probably wouldn't go anywhere during a hurricane. So let's not do that.
So heading a bit south from Crestview, kind of straight down, we're going to bypass Niceville for now, and we're going to go straight into Fort Walton Beach amenities.
Oh, Fort Walton Beach, that's actually where I currently live, so I know it fairly well. The biggest thing with Fort Walton Beach is there's a healthy mix of everything. But because it is a coastal town, the coastal things are generally going to take precedence when you want them to, obviously. So everything from kayaking to boating, jet skiing, going out and fishing. You've got several different bodies of water that you can get to very quickly in Fort Walton. So you've got access to the Sound, which is a body of water between the ocean, essentially the Gulf of Mexico, and the mainland, where in between the island. Then you've got the bay. And the bay is kind of the more calm area of water that the Gulf of Mexico feeds into. So it's a little bit softer, a little bit less choppy. You don't have to worry about as much, but you're still going to see dolphins and stuff out there. And then, of course, you got all the, bayous and creeks and stuff like that. I'm not going into those bodies of water. And then, of course, you've got the actual beach itself, the Gulf of Mexico. So it doesn't matter which one of these things you want to do. If you want to go out and lay out on the beach, that is a very easy option. We've got 7 beach access points on one side of the island, and then we've got about 3, kind of 4, depending on how you really look at it, on the other side. And some of those, for you military folks, is dedicated straight to you. In fact, they have their own little portion of the island that you do have to show your ID card to get into, and then they generally charge a very small fee, about 50% of the time. Sometimes it's free, sometimes they're charging. But it's like $2 or something like that. Last time I went there, $2 or $3. Huge pavilions with restrooms to get to. So if you don't want to use the nature outdoors, or you can't for other reasons, then you do have your own place to go there. So outside of all of the water stuff, we have a great downtown area, which I know we've talked about a lot on this channel. If you guys want to see more about that, we'll throw it up in the cards. There'll be a little orange thing that pops up somewhere up here on the video. You can go check out another playlist of the downtown area, but they've got things like The Landing, which is this whole area that they do for different events. Some of these events are like concerts in the park. They do that almost every single Friday. They also do fireworks I think it's Thursday that you can see them.
Thursday.
Yeah. And then they do all of their events there too, or a good chunk of the events there. So, the Tacos and Tequila, Brewfest, Craftathon. Those are the main ones I know because I enjoy a good craft beer. But they do other events there as well. They do, what do you call those? Farmers markets. Oh, yeah. And so great little place there. There's a big park there, and it's right next to all the downtown stuff. So bars, restaurants, axe throwing, some shops, some boutique shops, some great little art boutiques. Fort Walton has a ridiculous amount of things to do, and it really gets overlooked because it kind of gets overshadowed by Destin, which is literally just about 3 miles away on the island, and of course all the amenities in Destin. But don't sleep on Fort Walton. There's a good amount to do.
Yeah, if you're the type of person who likes to go to different restaurants or just be out late, Fort Walton Beach has a great nightlife. And if you just take an Uber to the downtown area, you can walk to the majority of these places very safely. You don't have to be on 98 for the most part. They're all going to be on the south side. So you can just bar hop from one to the next. And then once you're finished for the night, take another Uber home. And that's one of the greatest things too about Fort Walton Beach is that it has, plenty of Ubers and Lyfts and such. So your ability to get around is a lot easier than, say, coming from Crestview.
And because everything's fairly close, it doesn't take that long either, and therefore saves you a little bit of money. And depending on where you live in Fort Walton, if you live in the downtown area just south of Hollywood, then it's actually golf cart friendly. You can take your golf cart straight downtown, bypassing all the main roads and going underneath Highway 98, which is the main road that goes through everything. Bypass it right there and then go to all of the great spots.
I do want to caveat that with do not take your golf cart on 98.
Please don't do that.
It's not safe. It's really not. 98 is our main thoroughfare, and people drive like mad on this thing. People will be crossing the roads at night. It's very dangerous. People die all the time. We call it Bloody 98, and it's just not safe for you or you and your family to be on a golf cart on 98. It's illegal, and it's very, very dangerous.
And speaking of that, I'm just going to touch on it while we're here. Be careful when you're driving or walking across the road there as well. If you're trying to get, because 98 on one side has some bars, restaurants, and on the other side it has it well, so you have to cross it. There are crosswalks for a reason. Please use them. People are out here, right, wrong, or indifferent. Some of them are drinking. It's late at night. They can't see you, and you think you're good because you've had a couple of drinks and you walk through and get smacked. We don't want to see that. Now, we're not saying this happens all the time. I don't want to scare anybody off, but it is something that I think needs to be said.
Absolutely. And on that note...
Now on that note, let's go to a nicer subject.
Oh,
yeah, that's good. We're going to talk about Niceville Amenities now.
All right, Niceville is awesome. I actually lived there for a little while before I bought my house in Santa Rosa Beach, and I absolutely loved it. I really like to be outdoors, and so does my daughter. So Niceville was absolutely fantastic. There were so many parks, just parks on parks on parks. They're all over the place. You got Kiwanis Park, Turkey Creek, Lincoln Park, Lions Park. You've got Fred Gannon Rocky Bayou State Park, which has a waterfront option, as do most of them. Turkey Creek, and all of these, they have quick access to the water. There's so many options for getting onto the bay. It's absolutely fantastic. And a little hidden gem is Maxwell Gunther State Park. That's going to be just on the north side of the Mid-Bay Bridge. On the south side of the land. So if you were heading north from Destin, it would be up on your left. But it is never crowded. It's absolutely beautiful. The water stays pretty calm most of the time and pretty shallow. So if you've got some young swimmers, this area is fantastic. It's absolutely wonderful. My daughter and I loved going there when we were living there. So if you come to Niceville, or go to Niceville rather, you've got to stop in at Cafe Bienville. Another place you should definitely check out is, whether you have children or you don't, if you have any artistic inclination and like the idea of doing arts and crafts, then there's this beautiful little art shop called Artful Things, and their owner is fantastic. They have some of the most beautiful commissions in there, and they'll offer you classes to do different types of artwork. They'll work with your children, they'll work with you, they'll do homeschooling events. It's absolutely fantastic. Love this little store. All of their items were of great quality. They've got these cute little projects you can take home and do them there. Absolutely wonderful.
Now that we've got all of these great healthy things out of the way and cultural art things out of the way, let's talk about the pizza and beer. So Niceville is home of one of my favorite pizza places. There is a new one here in Fort Walton Beach, though, that I think is taking the cake. But Land Sharks is out there. So Land Sharks is in Niceville. Lost Coast is in Fort Walton. I know we already passed by Fort Walton, but since we're talking about it, I'm a little bit hungry. That's what we're going to be talking about. They have a Diablo pizza. It'll hurt. It'll hurt in a good way, and then it'll really hurt the next day in not so good ways. But it's really delicious. It really is. And then just down the road, we've got Third Planet, which is a brewery. Brew their own beers. Very delicious. They've got a huge outdoor venue, a little bit of an indoor venue too. Overhangs. They've got cornhole and a bunch of different activities to do. It is kid friendly as well. And in fact, I think every weekend, hopefully I'm not misspeaking here, they have at least one food truck out there. Sometimes they do live music. It's a really, really, really cool venue. And there's a couple of those out there. That's not the only one. That's just the biggest one that's been out here the longest.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. Super family friendly. They've got this cordoned off section where they've got not like a ball pit, but like a green area with a couple balls thrown in there where all the kids go in and play. You can bring your dog over there. There are picnic tables and there's tons of parking. It's just very good natured fun. It's fantastic. And on the topic of dogs, Niceville has one of the biggest dog parks I've ever seen in my life. This dog park is massive. It's the size of a football stadium. It's huge. So if you're looking in the Niceville area and you're like, oh, I really like this house, but the yard isn't super big, but you're close to the dog park, you might still be just fine because they will run that energy out for sure.
Okay, now that we got through all of the amenities, generally a lot of amenities in a city and a lot of pros of a city will come at a slight expense, and that expense is generally going to be in your housing. So when we're talking cost of living, which is not what we're about to get into, the biggest difference in our area for cost of living is going to be housing prices. There's no difference between a gallon of milk in Niceville and in Fort Walton. So this is how we're going to kind of like show you guys a different price point. So that's what we're going to talk about now.
So first one up is Crestview. For a 1,920 square foot house, which seems to be the average for the past 90 days of everything that is selling, that'll get you a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom for right around $330,000. So those are your averages right now. $330,000 for a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1,920 square foot house.
And of course, with that in Crestview, you're generally going to get the largest plot of land. I put generally because obviously it's all hit or miss. Niceville also has a decent size plot of land as well. Mm-hmm. Crestview tends to be a little bit more because they're not landlocked. Niceville and Fort Walton Beach both, they're surrounded by the base in general. And so there's not much more they can build. Niceville's got a little bit of empty room, but Fort Walton's completely closed off. So just want to make that clear as well. So if space between your neighbors is super duper important, Crestview out of the 3 options are going to be slightly bigger, although Niceville will be a close second. Now headed down to Fort Walton Beach. The average price point in Fort Walton Beach right now is going to be about $418,000. This is going to be the smallest plat of land, and it's going to be on average about a 3-bedroom, 2-bath home at around 1,650 square feet.
Now moving on to Niceville, we heard all those beautiful amenities, so it's going to come with a higher price tag. So for an average size property of about 4 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, around 2,089 square feet, you're looking on average about $548,000.
So a little bit more, but you're getting that because of the great schools, because of the crime. Like, you're paying for all of that stuff. A lot of people will hear in the forums, Facebook groups and stuff around our general area, well, Niceville's great, but it's so expensive. Well, you're getting what you're paying for. And what's funny about Niceville is Niceville's about as expensive as it is in Destin. Destin is a little bit higher now. It's crossing into the $700K for their average, but just noticing that like stellar difference that one of them's right on the Gulf of Mexico and the other one's not, but it's because of all those great things that we mentioned before.
I also want to caveat this with any location. All of the cities that we've mentioned are going to have pockets of areas that are less friendly than others. Whether you're in Niceville, which has the highest rating, or Crestview, which has the lowest rating, all of these are going to have fantastic neighborhoods and then neighborhoods where you might not want to go walking around at night. Every area has them. So take these grades with a grain of salt. We can find you a safe location in any of these cities. It's just something to know about when you're looking at things from a general standpoint. And maybe you're not using a realtor, which wouldn't be the best thing to do. But, if you're not working with someone who knows the area and you had to lean on some other information, this will help you.
Now, there are 2 more things we need to discuss for this video. One of those is the distance to the beach, because, come on, if you're moving to the Emerald Coast, you got to know how quick you're going to be able to get to the beach.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
It's important. So from kind of central locations of each of the cities, obviously the further north you go, the further away you're going to be from the beach, and the further south you go, the closer you're going to be to it. But just kind of general, speaking, if you're living in Crestview, then you're looking at about a 45-minute drive to the beach. If you're in Niceville, you're looking at about 30 minutes, and that's going to be whether you go into the beach in Destin or in Okaloosa Island. Now, if you are on Fort Walton Beach, well, the island is considered part of Fort Walton Beach, so you could be right on the water, or you could be about 10 to 15 minutes away. But obviously, that one's the furthest south. That one's going to get you the closest to the beach. And moving into other proximities.
Yeah, absolutely. So talking about the proximity to get to base, because, well, if you're watching this video because you're PCSing to Eglin Air Force Base, then you want to know how quickly you're going to be able to get there. So if you're in Crestview, again, we're placing a pin right in the middle of these cities. So if you're way far north in Crestview, this can change quite a bit. And then, of course, it will change with traffic. But assuming no traffic, or little to no traffic, average times, your drive from Crestview to get to Eglin Air Force Base is going to be about 31 minutes. And to get from Niceville to Eglin, it'll be about 15 minutes. And then lastly, Fort Walton Beach is basically attached to Eglin Air Force Base again. So that's going to be about 13 minutes if you're in the middle of town. Of course, if you're closer, it'll be closer.
If you're closer, it'll be closer?
Yeah, if you're closer, it'll be closer. You heard it here first, folks.
Technical analysis we do here at Life on the Emerald Coast.
People don't know the numbers like we do.
hopefully we entertained y'all a little bit and you gained some information and some greater understanding of the area. If you have any questions whatsoever, please, again, give us a call, send us a text, send us an email, find us on social media. We're on Facebook. If you're like, oh, I don't know, they seem like they just have too much fun, maybe they suck as realtors, go ahead over to our Google reviews. Maybe they can put a link right here and check out all of our 5-star reviews. And after that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ding the bell so you don't miss out the next time we do a video. We'll see y'all at the next one.
See ya.